While others missed the moment, these leaders saw the signal and made the bet. In this episode, Brett Knowles, the CEO of PM2, a strategy consulting firm, tells us his recent story of how his competitors resisted integrating AI while he invested in AI. Welcome to This Way Forward with Charlie Newark-French. My guest today is Brett Knowles. Brett is the CEO of PM2. PM2 is a consulting company that works with C-suite members focusing on strategy and on performance. So you've seen a lot of different strategic bets, Brett. Today, I think we're talking about the bet that you made when you saw AI changing the world. Thank you for being here. You know the format. If you wouldn't mind starting, Brett, by introducing the bet you made, and let's dive into it.
Great. Well, first, I'm honored to have the opportunity of having this chat with you. It's one of those topics that I can't help but feel good every time we have this conversation, because every time it also reveals some new ideas for myself as well. So everyone knows about AI at this point and ChatGPT and so on. The dilemma is about how we incorporate in our business lives. And perhaps the heart and brains of our business lives are about strategy development and strategy execution. And so there's a lot of resistance behind slowing down the deployment of AI in those spaces. We're looking for low-hanging fruits where we can make employees more productive, we can reduce error rates, we can onboard customers faster. Basically, better process execution. Yet strategy seems to be kind of a black box that we hope that if clever ideas come in, brilliant strategies come out the other side, but we don't deal with it like a process. And therefore, we tend to be avoiding using AI on it. And I guess we're also, maybe we've watched Terminator too many times, but we're afraid of what magic AI might do to our strategy or cause the demise of the company. So that's what we're trying to, that the strategic bet is about strategy. How is it we can put a spotlight on that black box and help organizations leverage the benefits of AI in their strategy development and strategy execution activities?
So, Brett, tell us, what is your bet around what that does look like in like 2-3 years' time? How are people using AI to drive their strategy, and where should they not be using it?
So is your question, where should they be or where should they not be?
Both. Like, where's it primed for, and then what ultimately is still part of the human experience from a strategy perspective?
Interestingly enough, 2 or 3 years, you'd like to think is far enough off in the distance that is, beyond imagination, but it is like minutes close. If you think of the disaster, we've all lived through COVID, and when that hit, literally on Friday of that week, business looked like one thing. Monday, it looked like something completely different. That's the speed of change we're seeing in AI, that 2 or 3 years from now, man, if you're not already well established in using AI, your competition is going to have you for breakfast. So somewhere between now and 2 years, a huge amount of change has to go from this resistance I touched on earlier on to, widespread adoption in almost every aspect of the strategy value stream. What does that look like? It looks like, imagine this. Imagine that a CEO wakes up at 2 o'clock in the morning and goes, I got this brilliant idea for a strategy. And she or he can go to their AI tool and go, what would need to be true for this idea to work? And AI is going to come back and based on that, give you some ideas what would be true. You could go, well, what biases do I have in this strategy that are skewing what I've developed? And it'll come back with some suggestions about where your biases will play. You could go, well, what are the trigger events? What would have to happen that would trigger this being a brilliant strategy or trigger this to be a strategy that we need to abandon? I'll come back with those answers. Then you could say, hey, take a look at the last 5 years' performance of my organization and tell me what is the strategic gap between the idea I've just come up with and what the organization has the current muscles and horsepower and capability to execute. Now, we're all the way to about 2:15 in the morning now. Let's pretend the CEO goes back to sleep. Now she or he shows up for the morning meeting at 9. That's a different meeting about strategy than would have happened a year ago. And all the things I described to you are available right now. In other words, there's no 2 or 3 years. This is stuff that's available right now. And someone is already doing that. Your competition, just to make people feel, guilty, is already doing those activities and coming together with, forward with much more brilliant strategies faster. And so it's all about agile. You see an opportunity today, I can be on that strategy tomorrow.
Yeah. So you mentioned this idea of resistance earlier, and you're saying that some competitors are out there doing it. Why is this a thing that not everyone is doing somewhat instantly? Why is there resistance? What are people resisting? Do they fear their own job being lost? Do they fear AI making bad decisions? You mentioned the apocalyptic views of AI that have been captured in movies, Terminator, for example. But tell me, where's the resistance? What's driving that?
I'm going to give two answers. One is from the CEO's perspective, and one is from the advisor, the consultant, the coach, whatever that is. So from the CEO, they're concerned, and I'm generalizing here, of course, but one concern is hallucinations. We're concerned about what AI might put in front of us as a wild dream. And to that, my response is, think of AI as just another executive around the table.
Yeah. If you say something stupid, you go, okay, thanks for the contribution. Let's move on and continue the dialogue. It doesn't ruin the whole business.
No, exactly. In fact, it's what I called 226. If you ask it for 10 ideas, 2 ideas are boneheaded. You have no idea how it came up with it. 2 ideas you already thought of, and 6 ideas make you go, oh, that's interesting. Just like you want anyone else around the table. Hallucinations. Yeah. The second part is about data privacy. We're all concerned that this becomes part of the larger learning module, and therefore accessible to the wide internet. That's obviously been corrected in terms of how all the AI tools work. You can keep that data effectively on your side of the firewall. IT departments don't quite know how to deal with it yet, but that's not a topic for today. That's their primary concerns.
Yes.
And I guess a third one, and I shouldn't be trying to order rank these, a further bullet point could be just job jeopardy. We've made it to be the executive in that organization because we've got a bigger brain, we think faster, we've got more experience. Now, all of a sudden, that is in jeopardy. Yeah. And so I prefer to keep that secret sauce to myself. Okay.
Right.
The consultant, the advisor. Part of this is who's nudging that executive forward. And so if you think of the advisor, and I'm going to just put it down as the external consultant, because it's easier to visualize. They're concerned about their jobs. You don't need the external consultant as you used to. You used to have the external consultant because they've got better experience. Well, no matter how experienced McKinsey or Bain or any of those consultants are, they can't hold a match to the worldwide internet. They just don't have that level of experience. They have their own biases, and they're afraid that AI is not going to pursue their bias and their expectations about how strategy should look in that organization. Again, it's about job security and job bias. And I think the third thing is many consultants show up with their own models. Like there's a bazillion, the 4-box model from Boston Consulting. There's, McKinsey different models. Well, AI is not going to look at those models. It's going to look at all of them and come together with the best one, not the secret sauce provided by any one of those vendors. So they've got a dog in the fight, and it's all about resisting the AI because it jeopardizes their position as a consultant.
So you were in that position. You made the bet to say, okay, we're going to figure out how AI can help us do our jobs and do our jobs better. What were you trying to solve for when you made that investment? Were you looking at the long-term survival of your firm and being like, this is inevitable, I have to embrace this? Or was this immediate better outcomes for your customers? Tell me what gave you the need to follow this?
Well, so this, just to put in context, is Clay Christensen's, the dilemma of the innovator, right? And that story is all.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Sorry, I got that in the wrong sequence. Now I must be dyslexic today. But I wish I had Kat to correct it for me, but I've got you instead. So
I got the opportunity to meet Clay for 3 minutes once upon a time. He's very tall and very, very smart.
Yes, he taught at Harvard when I did, and so we had more than one beer together. The issue is, in any organization, it's always hard to go to these disintermediating technologies and products because it eats the current group, and it's therefore the current employees, are going to rebel and sort of fight against it. And in fact, we saw that when I was at Boston, at Harvard, helping develop the balanced scorecard. Everyone in the accounting department, activity-based costing, was all against us because we're ruining that unique world that the finance had complete domain on. So I wish I had a more clever answer, but the problem is this. The problem is I'm at the age where I want to retire.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give up helping clients and helping clients move forward. AI is the perfect solution for me. I don't need to worry about keeping my employees going because I'm going to unplug in 28 days, I'm going to unplug the website and I'm done. So they all know it. They've all got I don't need to worry about the existing business, about that resistance. I'm
Yeah.
moving on to what can I do to give back? This is all about legacy, but also how is it we can best help organizations go forward without it just consuming my entire life as, my last 40 years as a consultant has done. So that's not really a repeatable model for other people. It just happens that, and I did a .com actually for John Doerr and Bill Hambrick back in 1999, and I had the title Vice President of the Next New Thing, which my wife says was the best title ever for me. I've always been fascinated with the next new shiny object, and AI is obviously that shiny object, and it happens to come along in my life at the right moment that we can leverage it to make my legacy continue and the wisdom that I've accumulated over the years.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me how you knew you were on track here. Were there any moments that you were, we're moving PM Squared to be an AI first consulting group, and you saw signals that actually, no, market's not ready for it, or the opposite, you saw signals that, wow, this has just had huge impact and we're being ahead of the curve is really going to help.
It's interesting you asked that. So I've published about 1,000 YouTubes. Every time I come up with a new idea or see something, learn something new, I create a YouTube. So I started making YouTubes in AI about 3 years ago. And I track the number of viewers, and I take a look at my LinkedIn posts and look at the number of viewers, and they're quite low. But I'm, headstrong and tenacious. I kept on doing it. And then suddenly, and I'm going to say about 6 months ago, it was like a light switch. All of a sudden, they would go from maybe 40 views to 400 views, and from 400 views to 4,000 views. Like, it was just, this ramp was phenomenal. And not only, and so I knew that we had a message that was interesting. All of a sudden, we're getting a bunch of viewers. And then as a business, we suddenly began getting inundated with requests for access to our agent. Now, we were a bit resistant about going to the general public. We did a limited beta test and pre-qualified organizations, and we had over 1,000 organizations ask to be on that beta test. And so that's quite phenomenal. I've got 6 startups behind me. None of them have had that amount of interest in that soft launch, beta testing. So don't know where that line goes to. All I can say is a light switch about 6 months ago, and then huge interest in how that can begin to get applied.
Yeah. That's awesome, Brett. Okay, look, people love hearing about AI right now. Just give me a prediction. We talked about the next 2 or 3 years. That time frame is the blink of an eye in the world of AI. So much is going to happen. What happens in 10 years' time with AI?
I think perhaps the biggest measurable milestone is our grandchildren will ask us, how the heck did we ever run a company without AI? Like, what was that? It's almost like trying to explain to them how you use a map as opposed to, Google Maps. I don't think they'll even, they'll forget what that was like. No different than we can almost forget what, working from the office all the time looked like before this work from home and Zoom and so on. So, those are measures of what that would look like. But in terms of what it looks like for business, if we think of traumatic moments in our business careers, COVID-19, I mentioned before, right now, the U.S. administration, Trump, is playing with tariffs like light switched, up, down, and so on. Huge uncertainty, obviously, macro global markets, but also for any one business. Well, we need to be able to respond to that as if it was nothing. Whatever happens today, AI is going to help us map our way forward, whatever that looks like. So right now, you can imagine what that would have looked like 10 years ago, or what that would have looked like 20 years ago. The turbulence caused by that is much less now than it was. 10 years from now, I think it'll be insignificant. Those things will be happening on an ongoing basis, and it won't cause a blink of the eye.
Totally. Like 10 years ago, you'd have this giant whiplash effect where you'd have some suggested small change. It filters down the whole organization. Everyone's in panic mode, comes back, and
Right.
the organization is somewhat destroyed by the uncertainty.
Now, here's a fascinating thing to think about.
Yeah.
The organization chart will be completely different. What we do right now is we organize the organization around functional expertise. I pull the accountants together, I put the salespeople together, I get the marketing people together, because I need to go somewhere to get that expertise.
Yeah.
I won't need that in 10 years' time. If I want a financial question asked, I'll just go ahead and ask my agent that knows our regulatory constraints, knows our policies and procedures, knows our values, and can tell us exactly the answer. I don't need to go to accounting. I don't need to go to sales. I don't need to go to marketing. So now the organization chart does not need to be designed around functional expertise. It's going to get designed around projects. I have the implement in Africa project. I have the develop product alpha project. And that's how we're going to be clustering teams.
Yeah. I've always been as a leader, a huge fan of processes. But those processes are there to fill knowledge gaps, basically. This CS person doesn't know what happened in a sales cycle, or this product person doesn't know what was committed to on this call. And I guess all of those knowledge gaps go away. And I bet like processes are flattened over time.
Right. So it's not only knowledge gaps, but it's also quality assurance. I know that if you cut this corner, it's going to cause a problem. So we build a process around that.
Yeah.
Here's the dilemma. Don't confuse, that story of don't confuse complexity with complicated. So building a car is complicated. There's a whole bunch of different parts. But the issue is if something ever breaks on the manufacturing process, I just write up a new standard operating procedure. I change how that part's manufactured. The problem never comes back. That's a complicated tool. Bringing up an 8-year-old is complex, right? My granddaughter was over the other day. She tripped over a deck board. Luckily, I had a lollipop in my pocket, solved the problem. Tears stopped, everything's next day, God darn it, wouldn't you believe it? She tripped over the same darn board. You think someone would fix it, but tripped over the same darn board. Out comes lollipop, no change. That's a complex system where I don't have standard, repeatable, reliable processes that solve the problem in a continuous activity. The low-hanging fruit in AI are the complicated processes that I can solve.
And it's solved.
10 years from now, we'll be solving those complex problems.
Yes. Makes a lot of sense. Brett, we're up on time. This was extremely interesting conversation. Your big bet here was as a strategy consultant, effectively, whilst others might be resisting AI because they think it's going to destroy their business, you leaned in very heavily and it's going to secure your legacy. So congrats on the move. It seems like it's paying off, and we're going to keep watching from the sidelines if it does continue to pay off.
Great. Thanks. Been a wonderful chat. Anytime you're bored, love to have another one.
Thank you, Brett. Bye.
Okay, see you. Cheers.